I was one of the only people who wasn't there at the big release in Los Angeles. And two very old friends picked me up from the stage door one night, and they booked some tickets to a midnight screening. And I went, I went dressed in like a scarf and sat in a cinema in London and watched it with the first crowd. And that's when I sort of realized like what an extraordinary event these films are when they come out. Like I wasn't in an industry. It wasn't an audience full of people from our industry. It was an audience full of you know, the real audience. And it was such a delight to be kind of in amongst it, and to feel the responses and to hear them. It's so vocal, so emotional. So yeah, that was a really fun experience to just be back in touch with the real thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think Tom's right in that you don't have to look at it through the sort of prism of what being in the Marvel franchise. It just began to sound like that, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was WandaVision, for instance, was just on its own one of the most creative and fun experiences of my career, and so I don't even think about it in the context of everything else. It is what it is, and you're working with the greatest technicians in the world. You know, it's been such a creative and imaginative. So I love it.
I want to talk a little about the world building in the MCU. One of the things that's sort of great about the way that Marvel operates is that each sort of movie feels sort of unique unto itself as its own kind of thing, but it's also part of this larger cohesive storytelling universe. That I think, appears especially true with these shows. Each of these shows are very different from the other. So, these are things that, we rarely get to sort of talk about because we're so focused on like this, the grand spectacle of it all. The sets, the world building. Could you talk about, for you guys as actors, what it's like to step onto those and have that help your performance and help you sort of believe that you have these incredible powers or these incredible abilities, and sell that story? Lizzie, why don't you go first?
Oh, I was just thinking about I think the wigs that I put on, whether it was for the 50s or the 70s or Scarlet Witch wig, you have like 14 wigs. It totally puts me in a funny mood, and I love it. And it's something that once I'm out of that chair, I'm like, I feel like I have my invisible cape on. like I'm gone. And I don't mean it in any kind of like a methody way. Just it really makes me feel like for the 50s, you just we all felt that way in the hair and makeup trailer all the time for doing our stupid vocal warm-ups to get our voices to have the right inflection. There's that part of the world building. Incredible to watch our production design team create this nuclear home that shifted based on whatever reference we were giving an homage to. And whether it was the multicam set of the Dick Van Dyke Show or the Brady Bunch, we had these like we had a tree, we had a plant that grew every single episode. Like no decade. And then in the penultimate episode, it was like dead. It was like a dead tree. And I just love those details, and it really makes us feel like a piece of the fabric of the set. And oh God, not to mention our exteriors and like all the nights all our entire crew were doing to paint the picket fences, paint the houses different colors, get different flowers out. I mean, it was really remarkable what Paul and I got to see our crew build. It was really inspiring, and everyone's working so hard, so you need to work that hard. You need to work harder, and everyone's just lifting each other up. It's really you're working with the greatest craftsmen and women, and it makes you be better.
Anthony, along the lines of what Lizzie was talking about, though, for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you were in a lot of different locations. You were supposed to be in, there was a brand new city or country within the MCU, Madripoor, that was introduced. But you obviously can't, especially since part of your show was shot during the pandemic, you can't necessarily travel to all of these places. So how did you? What was it like for you to have this sort of international show and have that be part of what you were doing with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
It was when I first read the script, I thought it was going to be one of those amazing experiences where we were going to be traveling to 7 different countries and doing all this stuff, and Sebastian was going to hurt his toe trying to be Tom Cruise, and Puerto Rico. And I was like, sweet. And then the earthquakes in Puerto Rico happened. Then they were like Atlanta and TBA. Because it really gave a wide spectrum of what this world for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be. What's the idea of everything and all these characters they were introducing into the universe, but at the same time, from the earthquakes, there were so many things that were like set in our path that were speed bumps. So it was really a group effort with cast and crew to keep the morale up, and every location and every opportunity and the way it did. I think the best thing that happened to us that we were taking out the first slot and put in the second slot, because I feel like that show how unique it was, how different it was, how beautiful it was, how the performances were so great, and how it still stood the test of the cinematic universe. It kind of made the audience fall in line to the new scope of what Marvel was going to be. So thank you, Paul and Lizzie. But it was all of these shows, every single time was a team effort. And, from the builders, every single show kind of worked its magic in its own way. We'll see about Loki.
We had the best crew of all time.
No, we had the best crew of all time.
Well, we had the crew that didn't sit through a symposium.
Oh no!
Well, the thing about that crew, I guess about 2/3 of Loki was made after the lockdown, and so if I had any chance to publicly salute those guys, because coming back, we did 6 weeks of Loki, and then pandemic hit, shut down. We came back 5 months later, 4.5 months later. As I think was probably
Tom, can I ask you a question about Loki?
Yeah.
Do you get to improvise? Do you get to be like do you get to go off at all or no? Or is it pretty scripted? Like how, or did you find that in there?
Yeah, we found, I mean, it's like always, I feel like with every experience I've had with Marvel, it's like it's a mixture of the two. No, there's something written, there's a script, and you start there, and then but it can spin off and scene depending on the complexity of the setups and the shots, and you're like, well, you know, we've kind of planned for this wire gag, and you know, there's a mat for you, but if you do something else, we don't know if you're going to hit them, you know, you kind of, can you hit the mat, we need you to do that, and otherwise everyone's in trouble. But there was definitely room to play and to be inventive. I mean,
It sounds the same as like I was like, Anthony, you know, Daniel's in the scene too, right? Like, oh, sorry, but like, yeah, I mean, I guess there's a collaboration aspect to this whole thing, you know, as you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you know, we Owen Wilson, who sadly isn't on our,
Yes,
is so inventive and so imaginative and so spontaneous. He would always bring new things, and you know, new things to the table. And so yeah, but then I feel like it's always, my experience inside working with Marvel Studios has been like that. There's always been an encouragement to where if someone has a good idea, let's try it.
yeah.
And that's the way the studio works is if someone has a good idea, it doesn't matter where whoever has it, there's no hierarchy in the thing, and that's why I love.
You talk to Kevin Feige, Tom.
So about 6.
He's only asking because Anthony was calling him every Friday night.
I'll text him every other day. Kevin every other.
Know how much I could spend, you know.
But that would be amazing if you ask him that, like, Kevin, I'm just on the corner of 6th and 8th, and I'm wondering.
Truly wonderful, delightful, marvelous conversation. I'm sorry, I regret even saying that. But thank you so much for Disney Plus. Please check them out. To our attendees, thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for our next session. Thank you so much.